Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another Roma Press live stream. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be one of those episodes where we get to fantasize about Roma's transfer market, or rather, we will try to make sense of everything that we've heard so far about Roma's transfer business or plans for the upcoming transfer window, which as is yet to open officially, but obviously clubs are already at work to secure reinforcements. And as we know, Roma have a lot of things to take care of in this window. There is plenty to get into. We've heard several names linked to Roma even just today. So I will be obviously going through the comments, reading everybody's opinion or question, and trying to get this live stream started. In the meantime, if you guys could just click the like button so that we can generate some interest on YouTube, that'd be great. And if you haven't subscribed, obviously subscribe. Let me just get to the comments because I see already we have. Richard, Andy, tell John to get healthy. We hope to see him soon. Yes, Richard, good news. I think you'll see him sooner than you think. So thank you so much for your wishes. And thank you again to everybody for sort of bearing with us as Roma Press has been undergoing a bit of a turbulent last few months. It's been challenging, but as I said in the previous live stream a few days ago, we hope to be back with the podcast before the end of the month. So keep your fingers crossed that that is the case. And as I said, I'm pretty sure we'll see John real soon, guys. So let me just get to here. Hi, Andy. So many names have been thrown around in the media recently. What are the most concrete targets Roma is currently working on? Well, Nico, that's kind of like the objective of this live stream, is to make sense of what has been thrown at the wall, because we all know that in the summer, very often names are just thrown at the wall to see what sticks. And yeah, sometimes we see that there is some credible sources actually coming through with good information, but mostly, at least in this early stage of the transfer market, we see a lot of rumors more than just news. So I will get to that later. In the meantime, just stick around. Hey, Andy, when is John recovering from his season-ending injury? Real soon. As I said, Roman, I have a good feeling. I can't divulge more because of privacy matters, but I hope that it will be real soon, and with the podcast to be fully underway by the end of this month. Again, back on track as always, as we've always done for the past 7 years. We are looking forward to also getting into this upcoming season, which will be, yeah, it will mark 7 years of collaboration between John and I. So that'd be good. That'd be good to get back to the usual swing of things. Who do you think Roma will bring as priorities positions, probable players? Love the channel. Thank you so much, Gur. Thank you so much for your support, Gur, and thank you to everyone else who is joining our live stream as it goes on. In the meantime, again, just let me remind you to click on the like button so that more people can see and more people can join us. Ciao, Andy. Is it just me, or most of the names that I've been reading in the press seriously underwhelming? How can we go from Salmakers to Zortea? Yes. Well, that's, again, I think we have to always take it with a grain of salt. I think a lot of the names that we've been seeing so far are names that are convenient because of one thing, because Giampiero Gasperini has worked at Atalanta. He's coached a lot of players. He's also coached a lot of young players who have then moved on to other clubs, such as, again, Zortea, for example, who plays for Cagliari. And the newspapers, sometimes they have to come up with something every day. Like, they have to sell. So in order to come up with something, they look for the easy solutions. The easy solution here in this case would be to link Giampiero Gasperini with basically any player that's been through Atalanta, whether it's the youth system or not, or whether it's the senior team, whether it's players that are already 30 years of age, players who are 20, but like such as the case of Gianluca Scamacca, Robin Gosens, all players who have been linked with Roma because Giampiero Gasperini joined the club a week ago. So let me just get to the names. I have a bit of the articles that we published over the last 24 hours. I have some articles open, so I think we'll get to that. We'll get to some of the names. We'll get some of to the overall plan, because as we know, Giampiero Gasperini plays differently than what Roma have been used to. So there will be clearly a revolution in certain areas of the pitch. What are we looking for in the attacking three? Two attacking midfielders, one striker, or one attacking midfielder, two strikers, or a hybrid, trying to figure out where Soule fits. It's a good question, Jonathan. Yes, we have been linked with several attacking midfielders. That seems to be the club's priority, is to get rid of Leandro Paredes and add someone who can be consistently on the score sheet for Roma. The latest name has been that of Gudmundsson, who played for Fiorentina, but Fiorentina will not activate the option from Genoa. Gudmundsson, who obviously is a bit of a, he's a bit of a, you hate the word jolly, but he really is that. So maybe we've been seeing those names as well, those players who are quite versatile, who can play behind the striker, who can play behind the wing. If needed, they can track back to the midfield. So we can get to that as well. However, it's good to see that Sviar looks like he will be staying. That is already an improvement compared to what our usual summer transfer looks like. I said it from the beginning, to relax, because if we, at least if, we can say a lot about the Friedkins, we can say, we can call out a lot of the inconsistency or bad decisions that they've made in over the course of the last year and a half, at least. But we've been used to pretty calm summer transfers in recent memory. I don't recall any major heartbreaks in recent years, which means that I never felt really that we could lose Sviar. Now it looks like, yes, like Sviar is very close to signing his new contract with Roma. We can get to that as well. Okay, just to, as a starter, just to warm up the appetite. Yes, Sviar is indeed very close to extending his contract with Roma. So Roma and the player sort of met about a week ago. The meeting was a key meeting that involved also Claudio Ranieri, and as we know, it served to narrow the gap between Roma's offer and Miles Viar's entourage and their demands. An agreement should be found at around 3.5 million euros per season. I think Sviar's asking fee, well, the sort of the wages that he asked for was about something like 4 million, including bonuses. Roma were only going as far as 3. They're going to find themselves somewhere in the middle, 3.5. That's the latest news from the major news outlets like Sky Sport, La Gazzetta dello Sport. That is, it's going to be that. It's, the signature should arrive sometime in the coming days or weeks, but it should arrive. We know that Sviar has had a lot of interest from abroad. There's been talk of clubs from the Premier League. There's been talk of Bundesliga teams such as Bayern Munich. There's also been talk of Milan, who in Serie A, they approached Sviar, but Sviar and Roma both turned down these options. There was talk of Manchester City. There was talk of Arsenal, but no can do, because Sviar looks set to stay at Roma. I haven't heard much on Pellegrini. Are they going to be able to move him? That is a good question, Tony. But I think as long as Pellegrini is out injured, we're not going to hear much about him. He needs to make some real progress in his recovery if we want to see him linked with other teams. Right now, I doubt that Roma would be able to move on, because his injury it was more serious than expected. So the recovery time, estimated recovery time, is of about 4 months. Both Roma and the surgeon that operated on him do not expect him to be back before the start of the new season. So it would be quite challenging to find a team that would be willing to actually splash money, because again, let's remember, Pellegrini has one more year left on his contract. So it's not like you can just you can just hope for the best. No, next year you're going to lose him for free. So you have to do something. You have to do something this summer. Either renew his contract, symbolically, like you did with Zalewski, who should be staying at Inter, or find a way to get rid of him now. Since there are so many newspapers and websites making rumors, what sources would you trust the most? I always repeat that in my mind, Il Tempo, the newspaper that is local, is Roman newspaper, that should be your go-to source for anything Roma related. Il Messaggero, for example, is also based in Rome, but I wouldn't trust, like I wouldn't put it on the same pedestal as Il Tempo. Il Tempo to me is it has a lot of great people working there. They know their stuff. They don't come out in the open unless they have a good info. And then obviously we have also Sky Sport, Gianluca Di Marzio, Sky Sport. Sometimes it's a hit or miss, but obviously when it comes to big names, he should be also the main person to go to when it comes to information on a daily basis. Thank you for asking. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here. Maybe Christante can finally be the guy we paid 30 million for. Yeah, it should be. I mean, it should happen. There have been no further links between Christante and Como. Como seemed to be the only team that was really after Christante in the final stretch of the season. Since Gasperini's appointment, we have heard nothing on that front. It looks like Christante might really end up staying and entering his 8th season with Roma. So that will be pretty impressive to see Christante really overtake a lot of club legends. Many people will have a seizure when that happens. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. You go. Wait, I haven't seen it, Vic. Is it 100 million in is that the listed budget, or is that the listed revenue? Because I've seen a number of articles that sort of reported what Roma are aiming for in terms of the revenue that they want to generate in order to then focus on their investments. The revenue, obviously, that comes from eyeballing the value of players that you could sell, like Darbo, like Kumbulla, like Mario Hermoso, and then you add that to the money that Roma have already earned from Enzo Lefebvre's sales, Samuel Dahl, Nicola Zalewski is going to join Inter for 6.5 million, and you end up with something along the lines of 70 million, which then obviously that's not what you can. I mean, you can't spend all of that in the transfer window again, because of all the headaches that we have had to put up with in terms of financial fair play. But yes, with Roma right now, I think they're gonna try and offload Angelino. Mark my words. I think this is sort of, it's always the make or break. Like it's always, and the same thing was last summer. The same thing happened 2 summers ago when Rob Geribagnes needed to be sold. You have to sell a series of players to then be able to start bringing in guys. And I think Angelino really is the deal breaker. Angelino, who seemed to be very, very close to Al Hilal, and now as the Club World Cup has started, we haven't heard anything. But Roma's plan is still to get rid of Angelino. And then obviously there is also talk of revolutionizing the wings with likes of Salik, Saud, guys who are not considered very compatible with what Gasperini is trying to do. I think the priority for Roma is to get fullbacks that can interpret what Gasperini wants and can change the way Roma move on the pitch. Because Gasperini's fullbacks have always been very dynamic, very much involved in the attacking phase of the team, and they've always been able to score goals. It's either they get a boatload of assists to their names, or they score a lot of goals. And Roma right now don't have those guys. If you look at Zeki Salik's stats, or even if you look at Angelino's stats, it's not really, it doesn't scream Gasperini ready. So that will be the sort of the priority for Roma. I hope we will keep Tammy Abraham. I'm sure he will improve and will be effective under Gasperson. Wow, Mirsai, I think you're one of the few people that thinks that way. So let me get to one of the news that I saw this morning. So obviously, as I said, fullbacks will be a priority for Roma. It seems right now that is the priority: fullbacks and strikers. Those are two positions that have been consistently mentioned in the media as the focus area for Roma. In particular, yes, Roma have a headache when it comes to their strikers, because Eldor Shomurodov is not guaranteed to stay. He's received offers from MLS. He has always been linked with MLS. Even last year, he was linked with MLS, I think with Atlanta United, before he remained at Roma, before it was decided that he would remain at Roma. So we have to keep an eye on that. Artem Dovbyk, obviously, again, is a player that will be evaluated by Gasperini in preseason. And then Tammy Abraham. And Tammy Abraham is consistently being linked with either the Premier League, or Turkish teams. So Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, everybody seems to be going crazy in Turkey for Tammy Abraham. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, this is a player who should be given a chance in preseason, just to see if he can interpret Gasperini's way of having his striker move on the pitch. But I do think that Abraham has lost his motivation to be around this club and this city. So today's report from La Repubblica, again, we take it with a grain of salt. There is another name that is being repeatedly mentioned, and that is Nicolola Kristovich of Lecce, a guy who's had quite a good season in Serie A. Obviously, nothing outstanding. I think 11 goals, 5 assists, something like that. He's one of those names that has been mentioned repeatedly in the same sentence as Roma. And today's report claimed that perhaps he could be the replacement of Tammy Abraham, that he seems to fit more of that backup role than Tammy Abraham for Gasperini. And yet at the same time, guys, we're talking about Lecce. We're talking about a team that wants 30 million for Kristovich. So that is not going to be easy for Roma. Who do you think will improve the most under Gasperini? That's a good question. I think really it comes down to who can be consistent. And right now, my hopes are through the roof for Matias Soule, because what I saw from Soule in the second half of last season was really special. I saw a young player emerge and break through his insecurity and become a pivotal player, not just a starter, but a pivotal player in the squad, a player that basically anything of any kind of threat or danger that we created had to go through Soule first. And I think that he would really benefit from someone as experienced as Gasperini, someone who is so focused on having the attack working at 100% at all times. Because so many times I felt like Soule in that second half of the season had lots of initiative, but he was the only one who had that initiative. Like sometimes, he would have the ball at his feet and he would wait for his teammates, and you could see that his teammates were not on the same page as him. I think with Gasperini, the whole point of Gasperini's model, which is what we always refer to Atalanta, the Atalanta model, is that everybody's on the same page, and the goal is score as much as you can and always put your foot on the gas at all times, 100%. And I think if you give that kid to someone like Gasperini, Soule will definitely thrive. Do you think Dovbyk will be the starting striker next season? Gur, again, this is the question that Italian media can figure out. It's something that we keep hearing because we are being, again, linked with Shomurodov leaving Roma. We're being linked with several strikers, such as Gianluca Scamacca. We are being linked with players in England, in Germany, and yet we don't seem to realize, or at least the media always seem to forget, that we've invested about 38 million in Artem Dovbyk, who was the leading goal scorer of La Liga and who ended the season with 17 goals, something like that this season. So a pretty good record, obviously not the record that we expected from the player, one of the most paid players that this team has signed. But we're talking about someone who, in my opinion, needs to stay. Like, if you give up on Dovbyk now, it's too bad. It would be a mistake. It should be a priority for Roma to continue to also, again, be consistent in their investments, or be determined to get the most out of it, because it would be a shame to give up on Dovbyk. I've said it several times and I'll say it again. We brought in Edin Dzeko, who at that time, when he came to Roma, he had won everything. He was great. He had been at Wolfsburg. He was at Manchester City. He was, I mean, he had the crowd rolling. Everybody was crazy for Dzeko. And Dzeko had a lot more on his track record than Dovbyk. And yet, we were almost this close to giving up on Edin Dzeko, who went on to enter the history books for the club. I'm not saying that Dovbyk is the same, but I'm saying that the situations are very similar. Edin Dzeko had an awful first season at Roma. By the end of the season, he was being regularly replaced by Diego Perotti and an aging Francesco Totti. And I'm not, I'm not saying again that Dovbyk will go on to be the leading goal scorer in Serie A and score 29 goals and 30 something in all competitions. But I'm saying, don't pull the trigger too early on. To the players we've been linked to, which of them would say are the best equipped to Gasperini system, which don't make sense? I mean, it seemed to me like yesterday there was an article that came out. I forget who mentioned. Oh, it was calciomercato.com. They talked about Roma being interested in Bonni of Parma. They compared him to Zapata. I don't know what their criteria for comparing him to Zapata are. The article that I transcribed, it talked about the physicality of both players. I don't think Bonni has shown anything remotely close to what Zapata was all about under Gasperini. So there are sometimes names that really make no sense. I also think, for example, guys, Gianluca Scamacca is a name that right now makes no sense, because if you're going to make investments for Gasperini, you're going to have to make investments in players that make sense from the get-go. They give you the answers you're looking for, and they give him the answers he's looking for. Gianluca Scamacca is coming off a year where he's been injured all the time. This is pure nostalgia bait. I don't believe, like, there's so many articles that have been published by numerous newspapers. Corriere dello Sport was the latest one that claim Scamacca is very much open to a return to Roma. But are Roma open to a return of a player who, again, has been out for a year? So it's not like you're just letting him in and everything's going to flow beautifully, even though obviously Scamacca had a career renaissance under Gasperini. He was the reason why Scamacca went to the Euros with Italy, but not in 2025, not right now. So that to me is a name that doesn't make sense. But a name that does make sense and that I like is exactly what Vic mentions here: the Kyper. The Kyper rumors are hot, but now we've linked to yes, the AZ Alkmaar left back Moller Wolf. I don't think we're going after both. I like Saladin. He's our version of Nouri, waiting for 4 minutes. Listen, the Kuiper exactly is a player that, in my mind, is picture perfect for Gasperini. I would be lying if I said I watched him play for Bruges, but I did watch him play for Belgium, and this is a kid that has a lot of talent and has shown this talent for the past 3 years. He's been really lights out. I like this player a lot. I like the fact that Roma are looking at him. He would represent the ideal replacement for Angelino. Right now, it really looks like the Kuiper is an objective for Roma. They're not the only ones. Milan are very much interested. They've also met with the player's entourage. Roma are also said to have been in contact with the player and his agents. And the Kuiper himself, he is open to a move. Whether that happens, whether that is whether he's open to a move specifically to Roma or just to Serie A or anywhere else, but the player wants to move on from Bruges, and it's likely to happen this summer. If you're able to get this kid, if you're able to bag 25 million from Angelino's sale, I said it on the previous live stream, you take it, guys. You don't cry. You don't spill tears over Angelino. This is not a player that we spill tears over. It's not. This is not the profile of a guy who would have stayed on at Roma no matter what. There is better options than Angelino out there. Believe me. So if you're able to bag 25 million from Angelino's sale, and then you're able to reinvest that amount or something along those lines for the Kuiper, you win. You win time and time again. And you also solidify this vision that Roma are trying to sell to the fans of rejuvenating the team, making investments that are important, yes, but they're also in line with a team that wants to compete for many years to come. For a team that doesn't just want to say, oh, I want to win now. No, wants to actually build something in the long term. The Kuiper is really a very, very exciting name. And I think he is one of those players that definitely fits what Gasperini would like his players to do. Let's see what else we have here with Kagazin. Also, which players outside of the Sette Sorelle would you like to see at Roma? Wait. I have Mazine, our good friend. Mazine, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, Mazine. I appreciate it. I hope all is well on your side as well. Gabriel, ciao Andy, many, many thanks keeping us international Giallorossi fans updating, wishing all the best, speeding recovery for John. Thank you so much, Gabriel. As I said, John should be back soon. So just coming back to the Kuiper, yes, well, an old interview resurfaced today, from March 30th, where he said, I would like to make a step forward in my career, and in the past, it would have never occurred to me. I wanted to establish myself at Bruges, but now I feel that I am ready for a transfer. I want to get out of my comfort zone. And then he goes on to say, he went on to say that if I were to move, I would like to move somewhere where the weather is nice. He says Spain would be great. They play football there all the time in the sun. I prefer countries like that, and also the games there finish late. For me, it's ideal, as I'm a person who likes to be active in the evenings. That's so great. And then he brought in the example. He said, for example, if Wolfsburg come to me, that's an industrial city, so I might as well stay at Bruges. It was hilarious. But yes, this sort of shows that we're talking about a kid who feels ready to make the next step. There is a lot of competition for the Kyper, a lot. So we have to watch out for that. In the meantime, obviously, Roma are again. Today's report by Corriere dello Sport said that a revolution will likely take place also on the right flank, as in Roma have right now 3 right backs: Zeki Salik, Saud Abdulhamid, and Buba Sangare. All 3 of them don't, in Roma's mind, or at least in Gasperini's mind, it seems, all 3 of them put together, they don't even make one good starter in Gasperini's mind. So today's report by Corriere dello Sport suggests that Roma would be ready to sell both Zeki Salik, Saud Abdulhamid. Salik, I can still see Roma selling him. Saud, it's more complicated. I think there would be, it's likely to envision Saud leaving Roma on loan. The same thing goes for Buba Sangare, who has been consistently used with the Primavera, but he could also leave on loan in search of more playing time elsewhere. And with them gone, Roma would try and sign someone who can be a starter for Gasperini. And I agree with that in the sense that, sure, Salik has had a really an exciting turnaround in the second half of the season, but he's also a player who's experienced a bit too many ups and downs, and I wouldn't really know what to do with him right now. He doesn't really give me the vibe of a player that whom you can trust game in, game out for an entire season. Yes, he was very important for Roma, with Ranieri coming in and sort of putting more emphasis on Salik. Salik took on a lot of defensive duties, to the point where when he was absent, it didn't feel right. And obviously we all remember what happened in Bilbao. I'm not going to mention it, but I don't see Salik staying beyond this summer. Yes, press the like button, please. And also, guys, we're very close to 2,000 subs. So if you haven't again subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date. Also, whenever we come back with the podcast, this is where you will get the video version of the podcast. So tune in, guys. Tune in and watch out for this space. Greeting from Greece. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Greece. So yes, we're also talking about, exactly, there are names like Nadir Zortea, Cagliari, right? A player who is, has scored, I think, 6 goals this season, for a fullback. That's pretty damn good. Gasperini knows him from his early days at Atalanta. Zortea came through the ranks at Atalanta, but then obviously moved on to better things in order to find more playing time. And he is one of the names that Roma are looking at. I would imagine that this is a player that Roma are looking at just as a backup figure, because you will eventually, if you offload, say, 3 names on the flank, you need at least 2 guys coming in. But this is what I'm talking about when we talk about Gasperini. And when we talk about what the media are trying to tell us right now, is that Roma are basically looking out for all of his old buddies, right? So we saw Raul Bellanova being mentioned. Raul Bellanova, who has had a great season with Atalanta, and a player who I would never imagine that Atalanta would give you Bellanova after only 1 season, a season where he's had 9 assists, something like that. Atalanta are not going to give it to him. They're going to turn around with Ivan Juric sitting on the bench, and they're going to be like, oh, you know what? We're going to give you our best fullback just because. It's not going to happen. But that's the sort of reasoning that we have to expect from Italian media. It's easy to come up with these stories because Gasperini has been coaching in the league for so long. So many names have been repeated over and over just because of his influence. And his influence over, of course, if you spend 9 years in Bergamo, a club that have a perfect recruiting system, a perfect scouting network, you're going to see a lot of names then roll out. Let's see. Vic, if we move Salik, I can see us going for Ordonez from Bruges or center back from Empoli. Yes, yeah, it's true. We have been linked also with Ordonez from Bruges, um, and yes, Saba from Empoli, the guy who should have arrived in January, but Roma decided against Saba's permanent signing and instead chose to sign Nelson on loan. Nelson, who obviously went back to Galatasaray at the end of the season. And then obviously there is another name that keeps being mentioned, Igor Paixão. So one of the priorities for Roma, as we've said, is finding players who are dynamic, who are also versatile, who sort of can drift a bit all over the pitch, especially who can slot in from playing as a striker to second striker to winger. And that's why we're seeing these names, Paixão, we're seeing Gudmundsson, because they represent sort of this kind of, in between players who can adapt very easily to any number of systems. Obviously, Gasperini relies on the 3-4-3 formation. And Paixão is one of these names that has been repeatedly linked with Roma, even going as far back as last year and this January. Paixão obviously is at Feyenoord. He's scored against us many times. He's a pretty damn good player. Very fast, very agile, great sense of goal, but his price tag is 35 million. So again, these are investments that maybe in another team's mind it's nothing. At Roma, if you're gonna get someone like the Kyper for 25 million, that's already significant. Let's remember how significant the investment for Matias Soule was. That was 26 million euros, and it felt like it was more than 40, just because of how much work Roma put into those negotiations to find a way to get Roma to get Juve to accept their terms. And when you go up to a team like Feyenoord and they're asking for 35 million euros, you can rest assured they're not going to make any discounts for you. And you can also rest assured that there's going to be a bidding war because a player like Paixão has teams like Napoli interested in him, and also various Premier League clubs that would be more than willing to pay up those 35 million euros. So this is what we're up against. We're up against a summer where, as Ranieri said, we will have to arm ourselves in patience, because it's not going to be just easy to walk up to the negotiating table, put the cash there, and get the player you want. That was the case last summer. This summer is going to be different. That is why it is so crucial to sell Angelino. I really do feel like it's in the air. You could feel the rush that Italian media experienced when Roma accelerated in their talks with Al Hilal. Al Hilal then waited. They hesitated because they were hoping to get Theo Hernandez to change his mind. Theo Hernandez did not change his mind. Al Hilal postponed the talks for Angelino. And you could also sense in the reports coming from Italy that Roma were trying to offload Angelino as fast as possible in order to be able to move on to their own investments. And right now that is on hold. So let's monitor that situation. I think that Gasperini will finally have a manager who will give the Primavera players a real chance in the first team. I think that in Gasperini will, yes. Guys like Romano, Colletta, Nardin have so much potential. Yes, and let's see. Let's wait and see. I do think that obviously in preseason we will have a chance to see what Gasperini is all about, and also what is the philosophy and the ideas behind what he wants to do at Roma. Because it's one thing what he did at Atalanta, it's another thing what him and the management plan to do at Roma. I agree with you that there is a number of players that should get a chance just to stick around during the summer, see what we can do. And it will be important to also see what Roma consider depth. Whether depth will be also players who need experience. Someone like Salah, a player that a lot of people I know on here took issue with because came in, Roma paid for him. They paid for him a permanent fee, and he didn't really feature much at all. But what do we do with someone like him? Is Salah a player who will give you depth? Is he a player that Roma envision could become a starter one day? So in my opinion, these are all exciting questions to have at this point. Like I prefer this, like thinking about this stuff rather than just the transfer market stuff, because this is all about what the vision is. We've read a lot of stuff in recent days about what Roma's targets on the transfer market will be. Today, La Gazzetta dello Sport sort of wrote an outline of Roma will try to bring in 5 to 6 players this summer. Then they narrow down the list to a central defender, 2 fullbacks, attacking midfielder, and 2 strikers. So, and again, we should ask ourselves the question of experience. Doesn't matter what is experience, because experience a couple of years ago was getting Gini Wijnaldum on a dry loan. Well, not on a dry loan, but on a loan from Paris Saint-Germain. So is that what we're after, or is experience now exactly like trying to rejuvenate the squad, taking chances on players from other leagues, from lesser leagues, from Belgium, from Greece? That is going, and what struck me about the interview that Gasperini gave to the club is that exactly he highlighted Florent Ghisolfi. He highlighted the scouting network. Like he mentioned the scouting in what he had to say about Ghisolfi. Is that exactly a focal point now for Roma? The scouting, are we going to see more of that? Are we going to see more of these names from players that we may not have seen much of? Let's see what you guys have to say. Maxime the Kypers is a must. Fratesi is gone, so let's go for Fana or OReilly. Attack Kristovich or Scamacca. True. OReilly is another name that we've been seeing a lot of. OReilly, who was phenomenal at Celtic. Phenomenal. I mean, you look at some of those stats and they're unreal. Atalanta were very close to getting Matt OReilly a year ago. Gasperini wanted him at all costs, and I think Atalanta failing to sign OReilly contributed to a lot of dissatisfaction on Gasperini's end. Brighton swooped in at the very last minute, improved their offer, and got OReilly. OReilly now is back on the transfer block, and he's being linked once again with Gasperini. He is a player that Gasperini likes a lot. Fratesi is gone, and I don't think that Fratesi is from what it appears, he's very close to Napoli, and I honestly, I don't think, despite what the media will tell you, I don't think Fratesi is on Roma's radar anymore. He hasn't been in a long time. Marco, hi Marco, thank you so much for joining us. Wait, before I get to yeah, I'm really interested in your thoughts on the 2 Danes linked to us recently, OReilly and Boving. I don't know much about Boving. I know OReilly. I like him a lot, and I think it's a shame that he chose Brighton in the end, because going to Atalanta would have taken his career to another level. He was very, very exciting player. I remember an ex-girlfriend was a Celtic fan, and there was a lot of talk about OReilly. OReilly is a very, very exciting player who could do wonders with Gasperini. But again, after a year in the Premier League, do you really think that Brighton will lower their demands for a guy like OReilly, for a player who plays for the Danish national team? Why don't we get Saelmakers and another winger, and that's it? All we need are 2 quick attacking players. Well, again, Marco, and to just sort of clarify, because Filippo Biaforo of Il Tempo also wanted to clarify this. Roma did not reach an agreement with Milan for Saelemaekers because Milan kept asking for more money. But Roma also haven't reached an agreement with Saelemaekers' entourage. Saelemaekers did not really push to make his stay at Roma permanent. It's not something that was mutual. So Roma may still want Saelemaekers, and maybe we will get him in the end. But right now, Saelemaekers is not really, meeting Roma halfway. So it wasn't just the difference between Roma and Milan. It was also the difference between Roma and Saelemaekers. Saelemaekers, who I believe is also represented by Giuseppe Rizzo, so the mega star agent in Italy at the moment, the guy who handled Ivan Juric, who handled Cristante, a guy who sort of runs the entire sporting world in Italy. Baldanzi back with Gasperini is exciting. Yes, so let's see, Tony. I want to see what Baldanzi can do at Roma. He's been lights out for Italy under 21 right now at the Euros. I want more of that here. I want Baldanzi to be able to score goals. Like if Gasperini can do that with Baldanzi, and if Baldanzi is ready to fight for his place, because it's also a question, guys. Baldanzi is going to be entering his more or less third season with Roma. He was there for half a season, then the full season last season, and now this is going to be his third one. And I'm pretty sure this is also a player who's hoping to be of importance to the team. And right now, he hasn't been that much. He knows that. He knows he needs to improve a lot, especially with scoring. Again, sort of that's my main gripe with him, is that he should have scored a lot more goals last season. I would rather have a bunch of average, inexpensive player who play as a team and can play Gasperini ball rather than a big summer signing. I don't know if many other Roma fans will accept it, though. Everything needs to be put in context. So many times we expected the big signings to work out, and they did not. And yet the ones that surprised us, just think of Gianluca Mancini or Roger Ibanez. Players who came in and we were like, what? Why all of a sudden these guys? And then it just made sense, And so that should be our philosophy as a fan base, because Roma are in a position that is quite complicated given all of the financial fair play stuff. Something that has been talked about at length. I'm not going to get into that anymore. I hope that it's going to pass, that we will not have to put up with this much longer. But yes, I agree with you. And that's what I stress so many times on the podcast, on live streams. Functionality. I need players who are functional. I don't care about names. I don't care if a news pops up that we're being linked with a player in Greece. I'm not going to just look the other way and pretend to be angry or upset over it because I don't know the guy. If Roma have viewed him, if Gasperini has viewed him, and if that player fulfills Gasperini's criteria and can be functional to the system, great. So that should be the priority. How's the financial fair play, guys? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Honestly, I don't think much of anyone knows. We just need to sell right now. We just need to generate capital gain. We just need to generate some revenue in order to be able to then reinvest some of that money into the signings. And that's why it's so important that Insolefe has moved to Sunderland. Samuel Dahl is moving to Benfica. Nicola Zalewski is moving to Inter. Angelino hopefully moving on. Paredes. We haven't talked about Paredes. God, how much longer will we have to bear with Paredes talking about returning to Boca Juniors? How much longer will we have to bear to listen to him talk about Paulo Dybala potentially joining him at Boca Juniors? Enough, enough. Paredes has been in talks with Boca Juniors. There is a release clause. They just need to pay 3.5 million euros, and then he can go there and he can go and live his life in Argentina. Just make up your mind, dude. Leave us alone. Leave Paulo Dybala alone. And I'm pretty sure that is going to be so. Him, Angelino, those will be the next two players on Roma's transfer block. And yeah. Gasperini likes his wingers and wingback to be physical, quick, and provide aerial threats. That's not the profile Sidemakers. I even worry about Soule. No, I wouldn't worry about Soule. Honestly, no. If Soule showed us something, it's not only goals, it's not only assists, is that he's willing to work on himself. Really, that's what made the difference between him, Salmakers, Tommaso Baldanzi. The reason why Salmakers and Tommaso Baldanzi did not play much under Ranieri is because Soule was actually the one who showed Ranieri that, hey, I am actually willing to change my game to play the way you need me to play. And that was the difference. So I would not give up on Soule under Gasperini. I think that's a player who embraces the coaches he has. Let me just get a sip. I would much prefer for us to try sign De Paul or even Richi instead of Frattesi. I don't think De Paul, we're talking about a man who's 60 billion years old. No, I'm kidding, but I don't think De Paul is the guy. Richi also, we're talking about Torino, who are not making any discounts whatsoever. Milan have been in talks for Richi for months and months, and they haven't even come close to signing him. Palhinha from Bayern could be a good signing. Yeah, but again, we're talking about very expensive players who make a lot of money. And I don't think Roma are going to. That's one of the priorities, actually. Like, it's not even about the transfer fee. It's about also the kind of wages that you're going to give out. I don't think that we're gonna go after players who make those figures that you can make at Bayern Munich. That doesn't translate to what Roma make, to what Roma are able to give to other players. Marco, but Salmakers made the difference this season with Dybala. He was the best attacking player, not Dovbyk, not Baldanzi, not Pellegrini, not Soule. Marco, of course. It's, as I said, it's all context, and I'm not arguing with you. Again, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that the situation is not easy, not because Roma don't want him, not because Roma don't want to get him, but because there is, first of all, no agreement with Milan, no agreement with the player. If the player is not making an effort to come to Roma, at some point you will have to look for other names. So I agree with you. I've been a big fan of Salmakers. I was very pleasantly surprised when he was doing well, and I paid him so much praise when he was on that fantastic streak, saving our asses in the first half of the season and in the early stages of Ranieri's reign. But at some point, it also comes down to what the player wants to do. Yes, I'm arguing with the fans here. This is Marco. Yes, let me just get Everton fan from Liverpool enjoying the show, boss. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Man, I hope Pizzi get more chances stepping up this year. That's another name that we've been seeing a lot in the media recently because. Because first of all, he's been giving out quite a bit of interviews, but also there is this rumors of interest in Pizzi from Tottenham, who have reportedly been monitoring him during this under 21 Euro championship. But at the same time, I don't think that's. Listen. There's not a single thing that Nicolo Pizzi has done so far at Roma that would warrant the interest of a Premier League club. Like, believe me, like it's not. I like Pizzi. Cute, very cute story. He renewed his contract recently. He's going to make about over 2 million euros. With each year, his salary will rise a little bit above 2 million. He hasn't done much, guys, to be taken seriously. I don't see Pizzi being a starter right now. I wish him the best. I wish him to surprise me, but right now, Pizzi in the last few months has left a lot to be desired. He barely played. Whenever he was on the pitch, there was not much going for him. I think what we remember mostly about him in the second half of the season is all the chances that he missed, especially at San Siro, when Ranieri even scolded him in front of the cameras. But can Pizzi be the answer in the midfield? Is he good enough? Yeah, I don't like right now. I don't think so. I don't think that Pizzi has done enough to be taken seriously as an option that starts game in, game out alongside Manu Kon. No way. I mean, just no. And that will be the focus that Roma want to apply to the midfield. Is Manu Kon is the center of everything. Everything goes through Manu Kon. Kon has received interest from PSG, from Borussia Dortmund, from Premier League clubs, but that is one of the players that Roma will do anything to keep him beyond this summer. It's so Kone is staying, and that is, in my opinion, a perfect player for Gasperini. The priority is to find someone who can play alongside him and who can score the ball. Again, we have issues with scoring the ball. Like it doesn't only affect our fullbacks; it affects also our midfielders. Kone, another guy who has a lot of missed chances to his name this past season. What Roma need to do, and what they will do if Paredes moves to Boca, is exactly to secure an attacking midfielder who can provide the team with those goals that they've been missing all season long. Thank you so much, Andy. You're the man. Way to hold it down on your own. Thank you, Martinez. Thank you so much, guys. So I think we've gone through the names. I've tried to paint this picture quite vividly. I hope so. I think there is not much that we've been hearing so much, and yet some of us can still have their doubts because Roma haven't really done much in terms of incoming market. There's not been going a lot on apart from the players that have left. We've only heard rumors. So right now there's not much stuff that we can work with in terms of actual facts. There are some names that are more persistent than others, but beware. Trust the sources such as Il Tempo, Sky Sport with Gianluca Di Marzio. Those are good quality sources that are consistently right over others. But Roma so far have a lot of things to do ahead of them. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of positions that need to be refreshed. I've mentioned the names, players that no longer fit, that should not be relied on. And I think sort of the club have a clear idea of what they want to do. They want to make the team faster, more dynamic, stronger, and with scoring prowess, which is something that we haven't been. If we've been in a lot of things, we haven't been focused on scoring the ball. There is a reason why we've had so many narrow victories, which I loved, but I know that Marco had an issue with it because Marco was always here sort of complaining about victories. And obviously, those wins point to a larger issue that Roma will solve this summer, will try to solve. Did Gasperini talk about his objectives at Roma and with players? What does he himself want? No, he didn't. The club interview was very limited. He just said that, he wants the team to play attacking football, that he wants to make that he wants to get the fans on his side. That's what he said. He wants the team to get the fans on their side by playing good attacking football. Then again, Gasperini's first press conference as Roma's new manager will be, I believe, on the 17th, on Tuesday. So watch out for that. It will be for sure on Roma Press. I'll do my best to translate and transcribe that. And in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for joining this live stream. If you like what we do at Roma Press, if you've liked what I've been able to do over these last few months without John, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press. If you like what we do here and this live stream, give a like, subscribe, do anything to support us because it really means a lot going forward. I appreciate it so much. Just a quick answer to Marco's question: when does Roma camp start? Roma gather at Trigoria around the 10th of July. So that should be the start of preseason. Obviously, that's very early preseason. We'll see a lot of players coming back from loan, players who then will leave shortly thereafter. But yes, so Gasperini's first press conference as Roma's new manager will be on Tuesday. Watch that. Watch Roma Press for that. And in the meantime, guys, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to be back with the podcast before the end of this month. Thank you so much. Forza Roma. Ciao.